Jagmeet Singh is the leader of the federal NDP. He joins us now to talk about the fall economic statement. Hello, Mr. Singh.
Hello.
So the statement, as you know, makes mention of the measures your party has made a condition of your supply and confidence agreement. Are you therefore happy with what you heard?
Well, the measures that we've made happen, we're happy because we've delivered on what we promised. We campaigned on dental care. Canadians are getting dental care. We fought to double the GST rebate. Canadians will start receiving that tomorrow. And so folks that do get the GST rebate should see a significant increase tomorrow. And rental supports are on the way for Canadians. So these are things that we've got for Canadians, and we're happy that we were able to deliver on what we promised that we would do. But when it comes to the fall economic statement, for a Prime Minister who said he would have Canadians' backs, he has really turned his back on Canadians with the real challenges people are faced with: rising costs of energy, rising costs of food, with the pressures of the inflation, high interest rates, and a potential recession. Nothing really in the fall economic statement speaks to the urgency of dealing with those looming crises or those ongoing crises.
Okay, so those are the issues you would like to have seen addressed, but how would you have addressed them?
Well, a couple of things. We've long been calling for a windfall tax, something that the European Union, United Kingdom, and Spain have all done to deal with the record profits the oil and gas sector are making and use that revenue to actually help Canadians out. This is something that the CEO of the international Shell company, which is very odd for a New Democrat to be quoting the CEO of Shell, but he himself said with the high energy profits that we're making, we think the government should tax us and use that money to help people that are having a hard time with the cost of energy. We agree. And so that's something that we would do. We would put in place a clear plan around reforming EI. In the case of a recession, we need to make sure that EI is there for Canadians and that people, if they lose their job, have some support. We want to see investments in healthcare. And we know that that's a serious problem right now. We're hearing story after story about long wait times, about provinces that are really hurting when it comes to healthcare. And the federal government's not even stepping up. The Prime Minister is not even meeting with the premiers on healthcare. So these are some of the things that I would have liked to have seen and I would have done as Prime Minister. Respond to the healthcare crisis, make sure we're dealing with real supports for Canadians, tax the windfall profits, the excess profits of these large corporations, and deal with how we can give Canadians some support over this upcoming winter.
Well, I guess up against that, though, is essentially this message of restraint that we're hearing from the government right now, because they say that there are tough economic times ahead. Is that not a consideration? What do you think about how they are preparing in that way to meet on any kind of economic downturn?
Well, we agree that there's going to be real serious economic struggles in the future. But what we need to do is take lessons from other countries around the world who've acknowledged that and said, well, we can pay for the investments in people by a windfall tax. It's a real legitimate process, a legitimate strategy to look at the excess profits of some of these sectors and use that revenue to give people some help. Many countries have announced, like Spain, help for their citizens over the winter with energy prices. We've seen Germany do the same thing, and we believe that's what Canada should be doing. We've been calling for things like getting the GST off of home heating, but there's no relief in this beyond what we've already fought for and achieved to give Canadians some comfort over a difficult future, the winter that's going to be cold, energy prices that are rising, and a healthcare system that's in shambles.
Mm-hmm. You know, I also want to talk about the government's environmental initiatives, investments essentially to encourage green investments and industries to set up in this country. Is the government doing enough to meet the challenge of the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, given all they are giving right now in terms of tax credits, to try to get green companies in the U.S. rather than countries like Canada?
Well, these are some of the measures that I have to say are positive. They're measures that actually flow directly from our agreement. So the trainings, the incentives for investment. One of the things I have to point out is, for the first time ever, we've long been saying that investments in money to go towards encouraging investment should also come with strings attached. For the first time ever, those strings are going to be attached. The 30% credit will go to companies that actually have a clear commitments to jobs, to apprentice, to actually tying it into a benefit for Canadians. And if they don't have those strings attached, they'll lose the full amount of the credit, which is probably the first time we've seen something like that with real strings attached. That's something that we push for, and we're happy to see that in there.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm wondering, based on what you have seen and not seen, does any of that affect your decision to support the government with your agreement?
Well, we're not going to give up just because we don't see the things that we want. When we first brought forward the idea of a GST rebate, the government said no. Conservatives came out against it. And tomorrow, Canadians are actually going to receive that GST rebate. So we didn't stop fighting for Canadians, we didn't give up, and we were able to get something done that's going to make a difference in the lives of nearly 12 million Canadians who can receive up to $500 in their pockets. So we are not going to give up fighting for people. We're going to keep on putting pressure. We're disappointed that the fall economic statement doesn't meet the challenges that Canadians are up against, and we're going to keep on fighting to make sure the government listens to what people need.
Okay, Mr. Singh, always appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Jagmeet Singh, leader of the federal NDP.